Hey there, welcome to the garden. We've got a bit of a gray, very wintry feeling day, but I am out here kind of just taking stock of the past garden year. I think it's really a great time before you start getting into garden, like big garden planning or even seed ordering and everything, to kind of take a moment and look back at the past year and go through sort of what really went well and maybe even what didn't go well. I'm going to do a few videos here kind of just reflecting on the 2023 garden season and going through some highlights, some lowlights, all of that. The first video I wanted to start with was to talk about my top 3 containers for the year. As you know, I typically do a ton of container gardening in my small little garden space back here. I like to just fill it up with containers, and I do all kinds of things from like food crops to flowers, just decorative containers, all of it. Grow bags, terracotta pots, self-watering containers. I like to try kind of a mix of everything, but I picked out the top 3 containers in 3 categories, or top 1 container from 3 different categories. So one is a food container that I loved, one is a fully decorative flower annual container, and then the third container that I wanted to highlight today is one that I started completely from seed, which is just kind of a really cool way to grow containers as well, but a very different sort of challenge. So I'm going to sit down, put the camera up, and we're just going to chat through these 3 containers, what I put in them, why I liked them, why they grew well for me, and all of that. All 3 of these are ones that I would totally repeat again, which is sort of for me like the biggest sign that it was a success. Not that I necessarily will repeat them next year, but just that these are 100% repeatable containers. I loved them. They were brilliant and beautiful in the garden, and I just really enjoyed them so much. So let me get seated and we'll chat containers. Okay, so let's talk first about a food crop container that I really loved this season. Growing food in containers, like I'm talking about tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, those kind of things, it has its own challenges, but it's also a super fun way, especially if you have a small space, but you still want to do some like food crop gardening. Totally can do it in a container setting. So the first container, this food crop container that I just loved, probably my top of all the things that I grew as far as edibles in containers, was my like garden in a window box. So I wanted to do a container to kind of challenge myself to grow like a full garden. I say that with quotes because it's not obviously actually a full garden, but a full variety of garden crops in a very small space. So like if you only have space for a window box on a patio under a window, could you do it? Can you grow like a garden? And I loved this container because it was just kind of whimsical and fun, you know, growing a garden in a window box. It was also very decorative, which was nice too. And I just really enjoyed it throughout the season. And I was actually really surprised at how well all of the plants grew in that window box setting because it was a very small soil reservoir. So if I had put all of these plants in a big raised bed or in ground, would they have produced more food, even more food and flowers? Probably. I mean, in all honesty, they probably would have just been even more abundant. But given the size of the soil reservoir, maybe I should have used a bigger window box, you know, hindsight is 2020. But given all of those constraints, I was absolutely shocked and thrilled at how much they did produce. And it was really fun to watch over the season because they kind of like throughout the season, the window box kind of changed and some things produced and then kind of like backed off, and then other things sort of took over. And so it was just sort of an ever-changing kind of container, and it was just really fun. So I had in there, I think I had a couple tomatoes, which all produced tomatoes. I had an eggplant, which produced a decent amount of these little small eggplants. It was awesome. I had cucumbers, they produced. I think I put a little pepper in, and it even produced some like little peppers. It was actually a California Wonder green pepper, I think. And so it was meant to produce like bigger green peppers. Again, because of the size constraints, the peppers were small, but I still ate them. They were fun little snack peppers, and they were really great. And then I also added in, for some decorative purposes, some flowers. So there were some marigolds in there. I put in a couple herbs, and actually a couple strawberries, which I produced strawberries on. They grew really well, and I actually ate a bunch of strawberries off of it. It was really fun. Strawberries are one of those things I definitely want to play around with more, because I feel like they're another plant that's really good in containers. Strawberries seem to produce really well, and so I definitely want to do more with strawberries, but I was really pleased. I mean, the container kind of surprised me at how well it did. I mean, every single thing, I had cucumbers, did I say that? They produced, everything really did put off, you know, crop. Not enough that I was gonna be like canning the tomatoes that I got out of the container, but I did eat the tomatoes. I had a couple tomato sandwiches with tomatoes from this container. It was just so fun, and it was beautiful. I think the only thing that like kind of didn't do super great was my basil, which was weird because basil usually in a container setting, especially like that, does really well. So I'm not entirely sure what was going on with that basil. I tried variegated basil this year, and it just wasn't as robust as some of the like sweet basils and other basils that I've grown in the past. So that was the only thing that like in the container I wasn't totally thrilled with, but otherwise it was just wonderful. It was a great container, and again, just like so much fun to watch it over the season, and I totally did feel like I had a little garden, you know, up there. It was great. Loved it. Then let's talk about we'll talk about my container from seed, because this was also like one of those big successes. Growing a container from seed is a little bit challenging because you never quite know how the plants are going to interplay along with each other. This can happen when you start with, you know, started plants from the garden center. One plant can take over and kind of just like fill the whole container. So this can definitely happen no matter how you're growing a container, but especially when you're growing from seed. Sometimes it's like you're not sure how they're going to play together, and then just when you're starting things from seed, there is something fun about having like started the whole plant from a seed all the way up to a full grown plant. It's just something cool about it. I don't know what it is about that process, but it's really awesome. And this container was just super fun. So I had a jigsaw pepper, baby blue eucalyptus, and then sunset coleus, which is a coleus seed variety. I guess it's something sunset. It's from Baker Creek, and it's a really pretty kind of like orangey sort of coleus. Really fun, and they all just looked beautiful together. It was a little bit different too because it was an all foliage container, so there were no you know, flowers in it. It was just all foliage, a very pretty like shade container really. The eucalyptus could do with sun, but the pepper, but the like part shade situation that I had it in, it worked beautifully. They were all really happy. They got very robust and big, just a gorgeous container that I just really enjoyed looking at, and it was fun because I started it from seed. So if you're in a zone, I'm in zone 7A right now, and if you are in my zone, the other fun thing about it is that you can start some of these early. So they're all a little bit slow growing. Peppers take a while. The coleus takes a little while to get going from seed, and the eucalyptus takes up quite a while. So like I would be starting, if you haven't seen my last couple of videos, we're actually moving, so my seed starting is a little bit off this year. So I'm not going to be starting probably seeds, well maybe in the end of January, but typically I would start my eucalyptus in like the beginning of January, because it just takes a long time for the eucalyptus to really grow up and get big. So it's kind of fun because if you're getting like itching to get the next garden year started, if you want to do this container, you're going to want to get these seeds started pretty soon here, really. So definitely like a really fun container. Yeah, it was just gorgeous. Just loved it. Just enjoyed it. You know, that's really for me, like my top containers are just the ones that I just enjoyed so much. So the third container that I wanted to talk about is like a full summer annuals. Got the annuals from the garden center kind of container, and it was actually a hanging basket. It was my like red, white, and blue hanging baskets that I had up on my patio, and I just enjoyed them so much. It kind of surprised me because it wasn't like a typical color combination that I would do. So for the blue, I used like purple petunias, not like really a true blue, so like purple petunias. And then I had a lot of reds in this container, which also is like not quite what I normally, purple and red is not a normal combination that I would do, but I loved it. Like, it was in that heat of the summer, like mid-July here, like hot, humid here. It was such a beautiful, fun container, and I just loved looking at it. I had some Vermillionaire Kufia. So every year I do some kind of Kufia in the hanging baskets because the butterflies adore it, and I get so many butterflies. And oh, I meant butterflies and hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are all over the Kufia, so I always grow Kufia for the hummingbirds. So some Vermillionaire Kufia, and then I did Stormburst verbena, which was something that I got as a total impulse buy. I just saw them at the garden center and I thought they looked so pretty. So the kind of like light purple and white of the verbena next to the red Kufia was really pretty, and then we threw in a couple like of the midnight petunias in like purple. It was so fun, and it did very much look like firecrackery 4th of July. We tend to spend a lot of time out on that patio right around that 4th of July season, and so it was just a perfect container to have there. It was just beautiful. Honestly, it just surprised me at how much I liked the colors. And it was kind of, yeah, like one of those just impulse things. I saw those Stormburst verbenas and I just had to have them, and then I built the whole container around it. Sorry if you could hear this. All the birds are enjoying the bird feeder, like right by me, and they're making all kinds of noise. Yeah, it just was beautiful. They just all grew pretty well together too. Again, it was a very balanced container with how vigorous the plants were, and that is always for me too a sign when I know I've got a good combination, because the petunias, the verbena, the Kufia, they all just grew well in and amongst each other, and it was like I loved the container. The only thing I will say is that the verbena, I found myself kind of like having to deadhead a little bit, having to kind of stay on top of cleaning up, which is not ideal for a hanging basket. The Kufia is great for a hanging basket because Kufia, you plant it, you never have to do anything with it. Like, you don't have to deadhead it. It just keeps growing. It looks beautiful. Like, I don't know what happens to the dead flowers. You just like don't even notice it. And I mean, obviously petunias are always a little bit of deadheading in work, but I don't really mind deadheading petunias because I feel like you just like shake the plant and they come off. I think I also did have some, now I'm remembering, some super bells, a couple, or calibrachoas, a couple like red calibrachoas. I actually did 2 hanging baskets in this color tone with the different plants. So I think I also had some calibrachoas, which those are easy to deadhead too. You just like honestly kind of like shake it and then all the little dead flowers fall off. But the verbena took a little bit more work, but it was still, I mean, it's just so gorgeous, and just a really, really fun container. So those, I think there's a lot of honorable mentions because I enjoyed a lot of my containers this year, but those have to be my like top 3. I just loved them. I thought they were the most beautiful, fun plants of the year for the container garden, and yeah, they're my winners. Loved them. Absolutely stunning. So definitely I will try to link the videos where I put together all those containers. So if you want to like replicate some of that, or if you're doing, you know, some seed shopping and some plant planting, I highly recommend, because they all just did really well together and it was super fun. So anyways, I'm gonna also sit down here and go through some of my highlights from the other parts of the garden, and I'll put out some videos with that and my lowlights in the next couple videos too as we're chatting here. I don't have any updates right now as far as the garden moving. I promise I will keep you like fully updated as we go along with moving the garden and planning how my renter's garden is going to go for the next year. I am going to keep you updated. Right now I don't have any updates on it. We're just kind of in a holding pattern, getting ready to get things set. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.